In the last video, we added the January program to the Kindy Room. In this video, you'll be shown how to add an observation of a spontaneous experience or an unplanned experience to the new January program. First thing we do is click on Observations. Then we just click on Add New Observation, and then the Add New Observation screen will come up. What I suggest you do is go through tab at a time, so fill in each of the tabs until you have finished the observation. So we start with the general information. The program name is already there. Now we just need to give the observation a title. I'm going to call this Building a Skyscraper. The date is already there. Then we just choose the style in which we're going to be writing the observation. I'm going to say anecdotal record. The framework is already there for us, the EYLF, but if we want to change it, we can. Then the narrative. This is where you would just type in what happened. So this is just your description of what happened during the experience. So I'm just going to do the first sentence. Aidan and Alfie were in the block corner for an extended period of time. I'm just going to quickly tell you what happened. I'm not going to type the whole thing out. So Aidan and Alfie are two little kindy boys who don't usually continue with an activity for very long, so they haven't demonstrated that they have that ability to, sustain their concentration on one thing. On this particular day, I noticed that they're sitting in the block corner intently engaged in something, so that's what's piqued my attention. So I go over and I can see that Aidan is trying to build a tower out of blocks, but it keeps on falling down. Alfie asks if he can help him. Aidan says, yes, please, I'm trying to build a skyscraper like the one my mummy works in. So Alfie makes the suggestion that they put the big blocks first and then the little blocks on top. And they do that and they manage to build a skyscraper that's 10 blocks tall and it doesn't fall down. So they're really happy with themselves. But it doesn't finish there. Then they have a big discussion about the different jobs that their parents have during the day when they're at childcare. So that's my narrative or description of what happened. The reflection of learning is where you would delve a little bit deeper and just reflect on the learning that you've actually observed in this observation. So I'm going to say Aidan and Alfie show that they are learning to cooperate in order to achieve a goal. Okay, the next experience, if you're wanting to extend on the learning or the interest or something that you've noticed in this observation, one way of linking a next experience to this observation is to add it here in the next experience box. So I'm going to say, in order to encourage the children to engage in role play, we will move the wooden people to the block corner. So let's just say I've never observed these boys engage in any imaginative or role play, and because they seem to like being in the block corner and because they had that discussion about what their parents did during the day, I'm going to move the wooden people to the block corner, and then maybe that will prompt them to use the wooden people to engage in some role play. Another couple of things I need to attend to before we move on to the next tab. The first one is Early Works will by default, if we're observing more than one child, it will register the observation as a group observation. If I want to register this as an individual observation, I just click on that box and then I've got some visibility options. If I haven't got time to finish the observation now, I would save it as a draft and families can't see a draft. I can keep it not visible to families, or I can make it so that families can view the observation. At the end of the observation, I would make it visible to the families, but for now, we'll just keep it not visible while we're working on it. So now we've finished the general information tab, so we move on through the other tabs. The first one being experiences observed. If this was an experience from one of my programs, I would link the observation to that experience. But remember, we said this was a spontaneous experience, so it was unplanned. It's not in any of the programs, so I don't click on anything and it will register as an observation of a spontaneous experience. Children observed, here I just simply click on the names of the children I'm observing and I'm observing Aiden and Alfie. And if we like, we can enter the voice of the child here. So for Aiden, I might say, I want to build a skyscraper like the one my mummy works in. And Alfie may have said, I think we need to put the big blocks first. Now, observed outcomes. This is where we can link to the EYLF and the ASEQA developmental milestones. So we can see we've got all of the outcome groups here for the EYLF. So the first thing I need to do is choose which outcome group or groups are most relevant, and I'm thinking outcome group 4, children are confident and involved learners. So I simply click on the plus sign next to outcome group 4, and then the outcomes within that group come up, and we might decide that 4.1 and 4.2 are the most relevant. So I just click on the plus sign next to 4.1 and the plus sign next to 4.2, and this is where I can individualise the observation depending on the learning that we've observed for each of the children. So we might decide that both Aiden and Alfie demonstrated 4.1 or showed they're working towards 4.1, but maybe only Alfie for 4.2. So you don't have to click on the same outcomes for each child. You can click on a variety of outcomes for each of the children in the observation. Then the next step is to add a comment to explain how that outcome was worked towards in this observation. So to do that, we simply click on Add Comment, and here for Aiden, I would say Aiden, and then I would say something about cooperation. So that's one of the dispositions he showed he was working towards. Something about commitment, because he's clearly working towards that as well, and persistence, because he kept on persisting with that tower even though it kept falling down. If I want the family to be able to see the comment, I just unclick the box and then I click Save Comment, and then the comment is saved. And only Aiden's family will see that comment. Alfie's family won't see it. So these, the comments and the outcomes that are ticked and the developmental milestones that are ticked and commented upon are only visible to the individual child's family. Then I would add a comment for Alfie here, and I would also add a comment there for Alfie for 4.2. Then the developmental milestones, I know there's a cognitive one that is relevant to this, and these are in age order. They're the ASEQA developmental milestones, so I know it's towards the end here. Here we go, 1.50. So I just click on the plus sign, and then both Aiden and Alfie showed that they could build a tower 8 to 10 blocks tall, and then I would add a comment just to explain that Alfie needed a little bit of help still to build that tower, but Alfie was able to support Aiden, so literally scaffold for him in building the tower, so I'd add a comment there. Then we just go back to the top again, quick evidence. Okay, if you think that this observation could be used as evidence for your services quick, all you need to do is click on the quality area, the standard, or the element that you think that the observation is showing evidence of, and then that will be saved to the quick evidence list in EarlyWorks. Finally, if I want to add a picture, or you can add as many images as you like, we'll just add one to show you how to do it. I just click on Add Files, then I will just go into my pictures, and I've got one here that I would like to use. Here it is. I just click Open and start Upload. And then the picture will appear. What I'd suggest you do is override the JPEG and put a little jotting there to explain the relevance or, the learning that's happening in that particular image. So I might just say, focusing on building a skyscraper. And then I just tick the names of the children whose families I want to see that photo. So I want both Aiden and Alfie's family to see the photo. If children aren't allowed to have their photos shared, a little orange camera will come up next to their name, and then you would just take 2 photos and tag Aiden in on one photo and Alfie in on the other. And now we are finished, so we click Update Record. However, because we added that next experience to the observation, what EarlyWorks has done is taken us to the Edit Experience screen And there are two things we need to do before that experience can go onto the program. The first thing we need to do is enter an experience name. So I'm going to call it Wooden People in the Block Corner. And the second thing we need to do is choose at least one intended outcome. So I just click on intended outcomes, and I'm going to be working on communication here. So I will tick 5.1, and then we can click update record. And now you can see that that experience has been added to the experiences for the January program for the Kindy Room. And if we return to the program list, you can see that we have added one observation to the January program and one experience. So now to view that observation, all I do is click on observations, and then I can either view or print the observations, but we're just going to view it for now. And this is the educator view of the observation. You can see the images up the top with the caption underneath. We've got the date, the person who created, or the educator who created the observation, the style, it was an anecdotal record. It was a spontaneous experience that was observed, it wasn't one from the program. The children's names are there, the narrative or the description of what happened, the voice of the child, the reflection of learning, the observed outcomes and the comments, as well as the next experience. So that is how, I'll just take you back to the program list. So that's how we add an observation to a program.